I'm Dr. Lisa Yeagers, and I'm here to talk with you about a project that I presented at the World Federation of Occupational Therapy Congress in Paris, France. And it is based on over 7 years of program development with a program called Occupational Therapy Transition and Integration Services. What our project involved was working with individuals who were sentenced to life without the option of parole when they were only 16 or 17-year-olds as juveniles. Due to Supreme Court rulings, those individuals who had served over 25 to 30 years in prison had the opportunity to petition for their parole for the first time. In this presentation, you'll hear about our 7 years of work with individuals and what we learned about occupational therapy goal setting and how individuals in this situation who had served very long-term sentences from the time that they were very young and now facing older adulthood had set goals for preparing for the opportunity if they were able to return to the community. So listen to this presentation and learn more about how occupational therapy addresses the everyday activities of individuals who served long-term sentences in prison.
So the next presentation is by Lisa Jagers. The presentation is Occupational Therapy Goal Setting for Adults in Not Prison. Reentry means for juveniles sentenced to life without the option of parole.
Good morning. I want to introduce myself. I'm Lisa Yeagers from St. Louis University, and my co-authors who aren't able to be here today, Christine Hayes-Picker, Serena Blank, and Jessica Neff from Drake University was an OTD capstone student of mine. They did the brunt of the work with clients in this presentation, and Dr. Karen Frank Barney is a visionary in OT reentry, so I want to be sure to recognize her for that. So here's a little background. JLWOP are people who were sentenced as juveniles, as 17-year-old, 16, 17-year-old people. They were sentenced to life without the option of parole. Reentry is a broad term used to refer to issues related to the transition of people from prison to community supervision. So court rulings held that holding people for a life sentence without the option of parole was unconstitutional because at the time of their sentencing, their cognitive development hadn't even been complete. JLWOPs are often not well prepared for release due to long-term roles, habits, and routines of prison life, and definitely through occupational deprivation, they haven't developed those habits and routines needed for community life. In the United States, at least 2,300 people are considered JLWOP, and that number is increasing dramatically because now we are allowing, or the US is allowing, for people with concurrent sentences, say 200 to 400 years of prison sentences, to allow to petition for their parole. So in our case, most of our clients have served at least 25 years in prison since being a teenager. So we know that goal setting to address community transition with OT interventions is needed. And the purpose of this study was to describe the goals and recommendations that were identified with our clients during initial evaluations. So I won't go through all of the different assessment tools. This study specifically focuses on the use of the occupational profile. And so we looked at trends among the goals that our clients set. So OTIS is the OT Transition and Integration Services Program, and we name it that intentionally because we feel that people need the opportunity to transition from prison or jail life to the community and to be included, to be integrated within the community. So the term reentry, I feel, is somewhat limiting in that case. In our program, with the JLWOP, attorneys learned about OT and were so excited about what we can do that they started referring clients to us. And over time, we have charged for our services, so we do have attorneys paying for OT evaluations. And our person on the right is, and person on the left, they're both wonderful success stories. You can look these stories up on Twitter. So in the study, we have a retrospective design. We did secondary data analysis of our occupational therapy documentation. So we looked at the population of JLWOP clients to look at their goals, recommendations, barriers, and facilitators to participating in reentry. So the evaluations were completed in person and via telehealth during COVID-19. And telehealth worked naturally regardless of the pandemic because it's very difficult to get inside of prisons sometimes. So we did some of our evaluations through phone calls. Occupational performance was measured and analyzed through completion of a thorough occupational profile. And then we used the OTPF to determine constructs for which we could categorize and utilize in this study. So you see the list of constructs here. And so we use thematic qualitative coding to develop, the analysis portion of this and categorize those goals. So we use quantitative frequency analysis to do that. So the results, we had 21 clients over the course of, let's see, I'm not sure how many years. I think our first client was in about 2015, 2016. So it took some time. And we had 84 subcategories of goals that were found. So I think this shows the complexity of what's going on, and I'll kind of break these down. So addressing client goals and recommendations for healthy, productive community living, we feel is sort of our benchmark where we want to be. And what we found is all of the tiny little subconstructs within this graphic are the areas that our clients identified and that we designed as recommendations to work on in their intervention planning. So you see the categories of health management, work, education, leisure, and social participation. And at the bottom, the instrumental activities of daily living were definitely the most often reported. So our results showed that the need for skilled occupational therapy intervention for these particular clients was most prominent in those areas of IADL, such as managing their home, looking at technology. Many had never utilized any sort of smartphone or computer, email, and then budgeting especially. And in terms of health management, behavioral health services were definitely identified. And so basically, as you saw in that complex diagram, our clients identified needing assistance for their basic daily activities when they return to the community. Now, in addition to those areas of occupation, they also identified 18 barriers to reentry and 12 facilitators to preparing for release. In the area of barriers, as you can imagine, this long-term sentence, being in prison, was a huge barrier. Many of our clients served years in solitary confinement or administrative segregation. So if you can imagine, the occupational deprivation issues and related mental health concerns were massive. And I better move on. So facilitators, it's not all bad. Many of our clients had family members who they would call on a daily basis. So they did find social supports where they could. And in the photo that I showed you of the clients, he learned to be a videographer and now is working at a television station since his release. So there are definitely facilitators. So in conclusion, JLWOP, they absolutely need supports for occupation. And we, as OT practitioners, are vital to addressing those goals. So my apologies for running a little over time. Here's some resources, and feel free to contact me if you have questions.
Thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to learn more about justice-based occupational therapy, go to our social media at justice_OT, and you can follow me on Instagram and other formats at DRL Jaegers, JAEGERS. I'll continue sharing more of my justice-based occupational therapy activities and research, so stay tuned and take care.